Hello, everybody. Chuck, thanks for jumping on today.
No worries at all.
If you could let us know about your organization and what you guys are doing in the supply chain.
The organization that I represent is the Healthcare Distribution Alliance. Within the Healthcare Distribution Alliance, there's the Pharmaceutical Cargo Security Coalition. It's a group that I started myself probably about 20 years ago. I did it ad hoc. I was working for a pharmaceutical manufacturer at the time. And it was an attempt to gather intelligence, spread it around, look at cargo theft incidents and things like that, and try to educate people as to how to best defend themselves. The type of cargo theft that was going on way back in the day is nothing like what it's going on now. It was a lot more of what we would call straight theft then, which was stealing stuff from truck yards and rest areas and things like that, as opposed to what we're dealing with now, which is the freight fraud aspect of it.
Yeah, and I guess with, the Alliance being part of pharma, what are some of the consequences? I know, if a load of toys goes missing, it's a bummer, it's expensive, it's a headache for everybody there on the shelf. But when pharma products are in the wrong hands, what are some of the consequences of that?
The issues there are you're dealing with consumable goods. And in some respects, you're dealing with goods that are environmentally sensitive. Perpetrators or bad guys don't have quality control departments or anything like that. When they steal a load of pharmaceutical freight, they work very hard to be able to reintroduce it into a supply chain, but they don't maintain its integrity like a manufacturer or a distributor would. So certain things happen to the product. In the best worst case scenario, it just becomes inert and it doesn't work. In the worst case scenario, it becomes toxic. I mean, if it's a particular type of product that requires environmental management, and if it doesn't maintain that environmental management, it could be, in both situations, it could hurt the patient. But in that particular situation, it could become very toxic.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not good.
Nope.
So what are some of the things that people are doing to prevent it from getting the wrong hands, whether it's straight theft or the strategic side?
We're an industry that, and I'm not knocking any of the other industries, but because we sell consumable products, because we're so heavily regulated by the FDA and the DEA, we, more so than other industries like electronics or jewelry or things like that, are a lot more particular about who we do business with. The trucking companies that we engage with, the freight brokers, the freight forwarders, because if we don't, not only does it hurt the patient, which is the biggest thing important here, but it also hurts our reputation from a federal regulatory standpoint. Mm-hmm. So most of the business relationships that we have are business relationships that have been around for a long time. The company that I worked for before moved opiate-based products. The trucking firms that we used, we had relationships with over 10 years. You're not going to see a pharmaceutical shipment be placed on a load board. And I'm not knocking load boards, but what I'm saying is that our business relationships with our warehousing and our distribution and things like that were a lot more well established. And when you look at the statistics, like you saw today here at the meeting, pharmaceuticals rate very low when it comes to vulnerabilities and thefts and things like that, and that's the reason why.
No, I think I would call it a luxury.
Yeah.
Having the ability to know who you're already working with,
yep,
and having those pre-existing relationships. Because some businesses, whether it's a 70-30, 60-40, 50-50 between contractual rates and, the spot market, and that's the fluidity of our supply chain. So I know that with strategic cargo theft, that leaves for some vulnerabilities.
Correct. Correct.
And I always like to look at it, the old economics. You got cost, you got quality, and then you got speed. You could only choose two. And so anyone who's trying to go for all three, right, you're always going to sacrifice one of them.
Right.
With pharma, it sounds like that's not the case, but just in general, do you see companies struggling with that?
Yes. Yeah.
And from what I know, you have some law enforcement background. How have things changed? What's the landscape? I know COVID was a big defining moment
Right.
in terms of the sophistication, but just kind of over the course of your career, what are some things that you've seen as cargo theft has evolved?
As we, as industry, as we, the shippers, modified our behavior, so essentially did the perpetrators. I akin it to back when I was in uniform working the highway, and we used radar. Companies sold radar detectors. So then we changed the band of the radar, and then they changed the band of the radar detectors. I mean, it's not a game by any far stretch of the imagination, but perpetrators will adjust their behavior to meet whatever it is that we try to do. So the idea here is to try to be one step ahead of them. I mean, to be able to create processes where the protection of the product is at its very forefront, and to create situations that cause perpetrators to be able to do things that make them easier to catch.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think by doing certain things to weed them out, I like to think with us, it's the network effect of you have to go through a process to be eligible to do certain things. And if you can't do these, right, these should just be bare minimums, that you own the company,
Right.
that you claim to be representing, that you actually have the trucks, in a verifiable way that you're going to supposedly move this product with. But we're not there yet. I know the FMCSA is working on some things. But yeah, that's, for me, comforting to know somewhat that there's people like you, the coalition, HDA, keeping all of us safe. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
In turn, I could say the same for you guys, in that back in the day, we didn't have anybody to vet the business relationships that we had, particularly when it comes to carriers and things like that. Those were done by house employees, and they didn't know where to go. They didn't know what to look for. Now, thank God there's outfits like yours that can answer all those questions for us and allow us to make more intelligent decisions as to who we choose to do business with.
Yeah. Well, happy to help. And
Yep.
Chuck, thank you for
No
jumping
worries.
on and sharing some of your expertise.
No worries.